Hey everybody, it's Daddy1424, themediapurchaseguide.com, and today we have Resident Evil 6 for you guys. Before we get to that, and I have it on the PS3 just for those of you who are wondering, I want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Welcome to the Daddy1424 TMPG community. We are at 467 subscribers, only a few away from that coveted 500 to get that contest. If you haven't subscribed already and you want to be part of that giveaway, make sure you subscribe. Let's get to that 500 so we can have more details pertaining to that release, so we can get that giveaway and give you guys what you want, which is obviously some sort of product or something or other. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get right to it. We have Resident Evil 6. First look for the PS3. It's going to be gameplay / review. Remember to head over to themediapurchaseguide.com for your one-stop tech shop. Get all your reviews, your articles, and game release dates and all that great stuff. So head over there. Don't forget to check that out. So let's go ahead and start with the menu and talk about what's available in Resident Evil 6. A game that's come over under a lot of criticism. GameSpot giving it a 4.5, IGN giving it like a 9, or I don't remember exactly what they gave it, but a higher score. So what is the truth? Let's see if we can find that out. So in the menu here, we have your play game, your options, your credits, records, special features. Everything pretty much speaks for itself. In your special features section, you get your collections and your cutscenes. And that's pretty much it. But let's go right into the game. Resident Evil 6, you follow 3 potential storylines. You can play as Leon, you can play as Chris, or you can play as Jake, I believe the character's name is. So I'll go ahead and continue mine with Chris Redfield. Let's go ahead and load this in. I am starting from fairly early on just so I'm not giving away any spoilers later on in the game. You can see that it is multiplayer. You can allow other people to join all regions. You can even specify who you want to play with you, what their basically motive is. Are they achievement hunters? Are they playing serious, or are they casual players? And you can tailor that. Now, let's start off with talking about the previous Resident Evil series. So we had, obviously, all the games up to Resident Evil 6 now. My personal favorites being Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5. Very different games, but my personal favorites. What's your favorite Resident Evil game? Leave that in the comments section below while we're playing through this game here. One of the things I want to talk about is that, back with Resident Evil 1 to 4, we had a game that was very survivor-driven, or horror survivor. With Resident Evil 5, it kind of changed up that formula. We follow more Chris Redfield and his partner, I forget her name, some African lady. Any case scenario, it was a very interesting done game. It kind of took the series in a new direction, and it was actually... I liked it. I enjoyed it because they stayed true to it. While they were trying to change it, they were consistent. They gave it 100% effort and went forth. With Resident Evil 6, because you have 3 different storylines, you get 3 different gameplay styles. So you get that of Leon, which is very survival horror. You get that of Chris Redfield, which is very reminiscent of Resident Evil 5, but reminiscent, not exactly the same. And then you get Jake, who's very, chase, and you got to run around and do all this crazy stuff. Now, what I don't like about this game is that because they have all the different styles, it forces you to change your gameplay and how you play the game consistently, and it kind of just feels sloppy and not put together properly. With Resident Evil 5, it was consistent. You knew what you were getting into. My apologies, by the way, if I'm not playing the greatest right now. I'm trying to focus on also explaining some things to you guys here. But it was consistent. With this changing the elements so many different times, I'm not really a big fan of it. I kind of wish that they would have just built off of the Resident Evil 5 rather than trying to go back. I know there was a lot of criticism, and that's why they're probably trying to address what the fans were saying and saying, well, we want to get back to that old school but maintain that new school. But it was too much of a mess. They also introduced this new quick time event mechanism where you'll do a lot of quick times. You'll press X here and there. You saw that when I jumped over this area here. I'll just demonstrate it again if I can. See if I can jump back. Yeah, see, things like that. You'll press X. You'll try and time, your button presses, and that will give you, different events to happen. You'll see that the camera angles are kind of sloppy. There'll be chase scenes where it forces you to look at things. And, GameSpot said it, and they kind of nailed it on the head. A lot of other games do things like that, and you don't force you to watch what's going on. This game really forces you to see what's going on, rather than just casually playing and choosing to pay attention if you so do so. And that's kind of a downside to the game. While we talk about the downsides, obviously there's some upsides to it. Visuals, you can see the character models are really clean. The environmentals could definitely be better. Texture mapping, lighting is pretty good. There were some frame rate issues that I have experienced. Not too many, but they are noticeable and they are there. Now, this game also features things like skill points where you can essentially get them and help give your character new skills and all that fun stuff involved. One of the other things we're going to talk about positives here, we got really good sound coming from the game. You know, visuals being pretty solid. And the story, of course, is a heavily immersed game in story. And you'll notice that as you're playing it, almost reminiscent of what you see in, you know, Metal Gear Solid 4. Not exactly the same, but just think of it as a very, very heavily story-focused game. So you'll play a little bit, do a couple action scenes, then you'll do a quick time event, and then you'll get story, rinse, you know, do it again, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You can see that ammo is sparse, like most other games. They do have this new navigation system, you can see that there. Trying to showcase things to you while fighting, obviously, these crazy guys. So, my only complaint with this game at this point is that I wish they would have kind of built off of the evolution of Resident Evil 5 rather than trying to, you know, sporadically change it and interlay it with all these different elements. And it kind of messed up the game for me, and I wasn't too happy with that. So all in all, I can't sit here and say to you guys, you know, yes, it's an amazing game, you should go pick it up. I think it has some unique elements within it, and I think it has potential, but I think they have to put more focus. They have to choose one or the other, either build the game back like you did with the Resident Evil 1 to 4 series, or, you know, build it like you do with Resident Evil 5, which is frankly what I prefer. I like that new style. I love the co-op options, obviously having people, you know, being able to people drop into your matches and all that stuff. But you know, Resident Evil is a great series. The other thing I had to complain about was that it didn't directly pick up from Chris Redfield's story in the past. I mean, the story with Chris. It does seem like all the stories between Leon, Chris, and Jake do intertwine at some point. But it seems like Chris's character has forgotten a lot. He doesn't remember the events of Resident Evil 5 or even any of the other Residents for that matter. People who are hardcore Resident Evil fans, you'll get little bonuses here and there, like they'll do little segues to things that you remember from the previous games, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. People who are new to the series are going to be able to pick it up and play it, but if you're a hardcore Resident Evil fan, I think you're going to have some disappointment at hand. You're not going to be as pleased as maybe you would suspect with the new Resident Evil series. That being said, let's watch some more gameplay, and that's pretty much it. We'll call it at that. Again, GameSpot giving it a 4.5. I'm going to give you guys my score because I don't think it's a 4.5. At the same token, too, here are some of the quick time events, by the way, guys. At the same token, too, it's not a 9. It's not an 8.5 like they were giving the previous Resident Evil 5 game. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7.5. I'm going to say it's a great game to rent, not necessarily to purchase. Don't rush out there and buy it. There's a lot of other games out there right now between FIFA 13 and NBA 2K13 that I think you can pick up. But I do think this is a unique game to maybe have in your collection or just give it a playthrough. Don't completely pass it by just because of biased reviews that give it a 4.5. And at the same time, it's not as amazing as a 9.5. So you can already see as I'm playing how story-driven it is. As usual, guys, if you want to hit me up, add me on PSN. That's Daddy1424 on PSN or XBLA. And you can feel free to hit me up with a match or, you know, play Resident with me if you've picked up your copy of it. Let's get to that 500 subscribers, and let's keep those incremental growths going because, guys, you guys make it possible for me. The more subscribers that I get, the more product that I can get my hands on. One of the new things I wanted to introduce to you guys are some of my new subscribers. I do a new video about every 5 days, just in case you're wondering, you know, to give you a little bit of instant information there. What I want to see from you guys, if possible, is if you guys have a particular product you want me to review, leave it in the comments. The one with the most likes is probably the product I'll proceed on doing next. I'll still have my own products, obviously, that I will be reviewing here and there, unless I'm getting a significant amount of requests for a single product. In order for me to consider one of the products you guys are putting down, I'm going to need to get over 10 likes, and then the one with the most thereafter. So if you have 3 products you guys recommend, one of them has 20 likes, you know, 15 likes, I'm going to do the one with 20. But they all have to be over 10 in order for me to consider. You saw the herbs there, and that again is something reminiscent of the old Resident Evil series, and you can even see that, you know, and again, these are the little things that I'm talking about where it tries to go back to that old school Resident Evil. So I think we're going to call it at about here, guys. But this has been the full review of Resident Evil. Pick it up, give it a playthrough, give it a try. Don't expect an amazing game because I was kind of disappointed and let down, but expect a decent playthrough nonetheless. Well, I'm getting to this point. Who's your favorite character? Chris Redfield, Leon, Ada. There's a lot of different characters. Who's your favorite Resident Evil character? So we're about a point here. We're going to call it at that, guys. Daddy 1424, the media purchase guide. I'm going to sign out the only way that I know how to, with a simple piece. Love. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on my next review, which will probably be Little Big Planet for PS Vita.